Hey everybody, this is Ray Flip for Bleeding Cool. Welcome back to our weekly recap of American Horror Story Cult. We are taking a look at episode 3, Neighbors from Hell. There's a lot we're going to have to cover. So if I go a little fast, I apologize. It's just a lot happened in this hour. So much so, we're going crazy. Look, I'm not even going with a hat today. Very, very bold on my part, just want you to know. Because, yeah, it's just lots of stuff going on here. But yeah, I digress. We're here to talk about American Horror Story Cult, not my hair. So let's dive right into third episode. Got my handy dandy little cheat sheet here, just so I don't miss anything. We start off the episode with Dr. Vincent. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my thoughts on Dr. Vincent in a few minutes. But Dr. Vincent is with his patient Rose. Rose has had some very bad confined space phobia going on from when she was locked in the closet by her abusive father when she was young. She makes a declarative statement to Dr. Vincent, talking about saying, "You fixed me, doctor." We see that she's with her husband Mark, and they're talking about all the efforts that Dr. Vincent has made and the breakthroughs that were made. So they leave. It's American Horror Story, so right off the bat, as soon as I heard "You fixed me, doctor," I was like, "Oh, this isn't going to go well." And it doesn't go well because we see Rose and we see Mark, we see Rosie and Mark making their way back to their home. Mark's got a really big surprise waiting for her. Well, yeah, there's a big surprise waiting for both of them, and it's not the surprise they were expecting. Um, they're ambushed by the clown cult. They are locked into coffins and are left there. We're going to find out a little later on what exactly happened to them, but it's an interesting connection in the sense that she was confined into a closed space, and she'd been seeing Dr. Vincent about her phobia regarding that. So, but again, I'm going to tease that connection for a little bit longer. Um, we go to credits, which are awesome. Love the credit scenes. Go to commercials. We come back, and then we get to see Ivy, Allie, and Detective Daniels. We're picking up right from where the last episode ended. We see poor Pedro essentially getting taken away from the front steps. He's dead. It wasn't a wound. It was sadly, unfortunately, a kill shot. Interestingly enough, Detective Samuels really again seems concerned with pushing the whole "this was self-defense, this was self-defense" thing. So, again, in a show where you're paranoid about everybody, he's kind of starting to move up to the top of my list, as is Ivy. Um, you hear Allie talking about at one point she makes references to the clowns. I'm just going to say, we'll save advice considering what Allie's background is. Probably not a good idea for her to be bringing up clowns, especially if self-defense is what everybody's thinking. Once you start talking about the things going on that you're imagining, yeah, it's not gonna not that Detective Samuels is gonna care. But yeah, that and there's something else she does later on in the episode where I'm like, it's not a good move to do if you want to try and prove everybody that you're stable and they should listen to you. We get to see Beverly Hope, played by Adina Porter, who was fantastic last season, by the way. Roanoke, thought she was great. Um, we know now that there are Justice for Pedro protesters that are out that have already started to form. There's a great line that Beverly Hope has. I want to make sure I get this right. And she says that people have been calling Allie, quote, calling her the lesbian George Zimmerman. It just, I don't know why, that was just a really good line. That really stuck out. That got me to chuckle a little bit, and I think I screwed up a little bit of typing in the process. Um, we have Allie and Kai. There's a confrontation, and Kai is now taking on a much more sympathetic, protective role towards Allie, and she's starting to be responsive to it. And it's something I touch upon in the text that I write before this. It really seems like this episode was about breaking Allie down as much as we possibly could, or I should say as much as we possibly could. That's interesting. But as much as the cult or this group or whoever's at play is trying to do, I'm getting the sense it's the idea of breaking somebody down to build them up in the image that you want them to. And I think we start to see that a lot this episode. Um, we see Hilton and Meadow. They've turned on Allie. As far as they're concerned, she used her gun. She used their gun, essentially her gun, to kill Pedro, and we're calling her just a racist murderer, and saying that the only reason why she did that is because of his ethnicity and how he looked. It was a very abrupt change. I gotta say, a very very abrupt change. And again, I think it ties into the whole breaking down idea. Um, the ominous truck. We see the truck with the green glow and the mist been patrolling at night. And it gets very, very disturbing the next day when you see um, the dead birds outside on the lawn. And that's it's you start to wonder more and more what specifically is going on, and more why isn't more people being disturbed by it. But that scene where they're out on the lawn and they pan back and you just see the lawn filled with dead birds, very, very effective. And very effective in a season so far. Again, 3 episodes in, that I think visually have done some amazing stuff. Really, really amazing stuff. Just hoping Ryan Murphy again isn't biting off more than he can chew from a storytelling standpoint, but visually, again, really on point. It usually is, but especially this season. We see that winter returns. Um, Ivy really seems to be pushing for winter to return. I think up front, more from the standpoint of Allie needs somebody, but again, the whole not trusting everybody and Ivy being one of them. We then have a scene of there's now a naked guy in their living room jerking off. Pardon my French. There's no other way to put it. I don't want to put it pleasantly because it was so randomly unexpected and just really that's just what was going on. That I it just was one of those. I'm looking around like, is somebody messing with me? Did somebody pull wool over my eyes? Like, did I just change the channel? Um, but no, there was a guy jerking off in their living room because somebody had placed a personal ad on a Craigslist type thing or something like that to one to go after them to disparage Allie. And when you hear the description of how the ad was placed and who she didn't want and who she wasn't interested in, yeah, it was an ad specifically put up there to kind of to bother them and to get to them, and more specifically to really get to Allie. We see it gets to the point where we're cut to Dr. Vincent, and I've told you I don't trust Dr. Vincent. We see Dr. Vincent, there's some very ominous scenes of him, and we see the scenes with smiley buttons, his keyboard. When I was live blogging, I said, "What's up with the smiley buttons?" My gut, I don't know. I can't unless he gets killed. I'm going with the theory right now. Besides my other theory that there's more than one cult in play, go with the theory that if there is one cult to play, that Dr. Vincent, when all is said and done, is kind of like the big cheese head honcho. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we're assuming Kai, but that Kai is kind of like right hand man to Dr. Vincent. That's kind of how I'm feeling it right now, unless Dr. Vincent's just a big red herring. But I'm getting the feeling that Dr. Vincent's going to be, for lack of a better phrase, the big bad for this season. Um, so Allie gets the brilliant idea um, that she is going to go and visit the protesters. Now, what I find interesting about that is you get um, you get a sense very quickly in her confrontation with the protesters the shift that we are starting to see in Allie. And I want to get the quote correctly here. First, she's screaming, "I'm one of you! I'm one of you! Please move!" And within seconds, it becomes, "Move, you motherfuckers!" And again, I think it just fits into the evolution of what we've seen the character breaking, how we've seen the character breaking down over these 3 episodes. And it's very interesting to see what is going to happen when she's rock bottom. This is going to be something that she's going to be built up into something they want, or is, she has other issues in play. Is she going to end up being something that nobody is expecting? Um, Kai saves her life from the protesters. I mean, saves her life, I think, is a little melodramatic, but is able to get the protesters away from her. Feeding into his promise, as he said to her before, that he was going to take care of her, which again raises the question, what is their dynamic? Is this just something potential he sees in her, concentrating on her? Is there some type of earlier connection? Um, Hell, I'm wondering if Kai isn't Oz's son. We'll throw that theory out there that Kai possibly is. I mean, Oz is Kai's son. Let's go with that because that would be really trippy. Do that time travel thing. For all we know, maybe Oz is Kai's son. Maybe Kai and Allie are connected through some type of family bond. I don't know, but again, I think there's something there also for us to take a look at. Um, we learn very quickly that even though Hilton and Meadow may not be big fans of Allie, they claim at least that they don't have issues with Oz. So they give Oz a pet guinea pig. Allie is not crazy about that in any way, shape, or form. So she storms over to give the guinea pig back. what we find is uh, that Detective Samuel's there. And again, you start to wonder. Now, there are two possibilities that come into play. If Detective Samuels, my initial thought was Detective Samuels is involved with Hilton and Meadow because again, he's part of the bigger picture conspiracy, everything else. It could also be that Detective Samuels and Hilton may be interested in one another. Maybe that's the person that Hilton was referencing before. So there is always that possibility too. Again, there's so many layers here. I just thought it was very interesting that Detective Samuels was kind of just chilling at the house when this all went down. Um, we also see the green truck again. Um, we also get an instance where Allie goes to confront the truck. We see that she passes out, and we see that she's bleeding from her nose. And they reference that later on, and I think it's in reference to, in regards to her getting her medical treatment to see if anything happened from what she was exposed to by the truck. My other thought that I started thinking too is that, is it possible that the nosebleeds, are they trying to imply that she has something going on with her brain, possibly brain tumor? Um, Again, I could be completely off, and that might end up even getting addressed tonight. But I can't help but feel like there's at least a little something to that there. Um, we see Meadow having her question and answer, truth or dare session with Kai. Meadow trying to be a little smart. Kai just slaps her hard to bring her back to reality. And again, you see the cult level of indoctrination there, the idea of openness and honesty and truth, coupled with usually some type of physical violence. You see it coming into play big time. Um, there's a line that Kai gives to Meadow, because Meadow's already addressed the fact that her biggest fear is losing the people around her, the fact that she's aging, the fact that she hasn't gotten to the levels that she wants, and she's so sorry and so apologetic about it. And then Kai finally said to her, "You're afraid you're nothing. You're afraid you're shit. Stop saying sorry. That's what makes you nothing." Again, when I was talking before about the idea of breaking down to build up, I think that's what we start to see in this instance. Depending on how things go after tonight's episode, and I'll talk about that in a minute because you'll see as it rolls along. We now get to Allie, Ivy, and Oz. We get a shot to them. They are out there having a great time together. Oz apologizes for how standoffish he's been towards Allie, and some of the things he said in the past. Allie's told Oz that he can keep the guinea pig. That she, start things fresh, start over new, try things a little different, be a little more trusting. So things look great. Um, they go back. They go back to the home. They find out, oh my God, their house has been marked by that serial killer cult. The serial killer cult, the clown cult, whatever we're going to call them, marked in the same manner that Rosie and Mark were in the very beginning, Dr. Vincent's earlier patients. Also marked, we learned, marked in the same way that the councilman and his wife were marked when they were killed in their killed/murder-suicide. Yeah. Um, so when they go inside, they find that Mr. Guinea, which granted is not the most original name for guinea pig, so let me just go on record saying that. You could spend a couple more minutes coming up with something better than like literally taking what the animal's name is and putting Mr. in front of it. It's like saying, oh, hi, this is Miss Cat and Mr. Dog and Mr. Turtle. Weird. Um, but they literally come into the house long enough to find Mr. Guinea just pop in the microwave. Yeah, again, guy jerking off, exploding guinea pig, both on the same level of unexpected things. Yeah, I did not see that coming either. Um, Allie's had enough. She basically goes over. She goes right across the street, goes right over to where Hilton Meadow are, and just basically punches Hilton because she is just certain that he is the one. They are the ones that are messing with her and her family, and they're the ones that are terrorizing them, trying to get them to come out. We also see that after they're done their confrontation, turns out along the side of the house, their house is also marked. Now, Allie doesn't care. Allie's just like, they could have marked it themselves. What does this mean? They even try, there's even a testing of the paint. Ivy isn't too sure, but then again, we don't know if Ivy's also trying to just sell the storyline. So, yeah, they essentially leave. What ends up happening is we have Allie running into the people with the truck. And this time she confronts one of the guys that are there. She pulls off the mask only to find a smiley face that's partially broken mask with something going on underneath. But after that, she passes out. So again, question marks who these individuals are. I couldn't tell if that was clown makeup underneath the smiley or not. I'm hoping we get a little more clarity on this because I think it's 10 episodes this season. I think we're coming up on the fourth. So yeah, I'm hoping we sort of at least get a little clarity as to what that whole truck issue is about. We then cut to Hilton and Kai. Hilton and Kai are now having their turn of truth or dare, pinky swear. We find out a couple of things about Hilton. We find out first that his older sister's boyfriend was his first homosexual experience. We also find that he loves Meadow. He just doesn't always like her. And what's stressing him and what's bothering him is this idea of that he's just always going to be with her for the rest of his life. And while she's a great friend, it's just not how he's imagined his life being moving forward and who he'd be spending his life with. Kai gets him to basically own up to the fact that, as he puts it, yes, I wish you were dead. You know, do I believe that he wishes she was dead? Dead? No. I think he means in the terms of, I wish she was just non-existent, gone, and then I could function and do what I need to do, everything else. I think it's more doubt on his part, projecting onto her. But when you say that in front of somebody like Kai, you kind of don't know what's going to happen. So we see Ivy, Allie, Oz, and Detective Samuels. Detective Samuels is over at their home. Allie is positive that it's Hilton and Meadow and trying to convince Dr. Samuels of it. I mean, Dr. Samuels. Detective Samuels of it. But he isn't so certain. What I was mentioning before, I want to say now to Allie, again, if you want to make people believe that you're sane, don't then cart out the remainder of a microwave guinea pig and put it on the table like you've been saving like it's a memento. Because objectively, even the look on Detective Samuel's face was like, yeah, okay, that's cute. I'm not going to go anywhere near that. We see that that Oz is having issue with his laptop, and the reason why he's having issues with his laptop is because there's something that he can't get off of the screen, and of course, being a young boy and everything else, one of two things come up. Thinking he's either porn, or based on his interactions with Winter, I'm thinking it was some kind of horrific, like, crime scene stuff and everything else. Oh no, my friends. It turns out to be footage of the security camera when Allie was in the bathtub and Winter was starting to relax her a little bit. I think is probably the best way to put it. So, yeah, Ivy freaks out. Ivy hits Allie, which, again, shocked and surprised me. I did not see that coming. But what we end up getting is you have all of this going on. Ivy's ready to grab Oz and take him out of there. They're ready to leave her. All of a sudden, police show up out in the front of the house across the street. They go outside. Hilton is in like a t-shirt and boxers. He's covered in blood. He's screaming about Meadow. What happened to Meadow? What's going on with Meadow? He starts making a run at Allie, telling the cops that Allie's responsible for whatever happened to Meadow. They tackle him. Turns out Oz is gone. Oz goes into the house. We see there's blood everywhere, and we see that there's a marking. The similar marking that was outside the house, we see that's inside the house. But we don't see Meadow. And it's wondering if Meadow is in the house. Is there a body? I wasn't quite sure about that. I got the impression that he doesn't know what happened with Meadow and that Meadow's gone. But I'm sure we'll absolutely be getting some clarity this week. That's it. I apologize. We went a little long this time, but it was a lot of stuff going on. Try to get through as quickly as possible. Join me tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll be on a little earlier with some extra stuff, but we're going to be taking a look at episode 4 of American Horror Story Cult 11/9. Hope you join me for that. And again, we're going to be doing our recaps every week. I think we said there's about 10 episodes. So hope you enjoy it. Hope you join me tonight. And if not, I will talk to you guys next week for my next recap. Take care.